Welcome to Back Issues, where I examine horror movie coverage from vintage horror magazines. With the release of 3 from Hell coming up, I thought now would be a good time to revisit the Fangoria magazine coverage of the first film in the series, House of a Thousand Corpses. This film was covered in so many issues of Fangoria magazine that it's going to take 3 parts to cover them all. A trilogy, if you will. So be sure to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out. I first saw House of a Thousand Corpses back in 2003 during its limited theatrical run. The massive hype surrounding rocker Rob Zombie's directorial debut was through the roof, and it began, for me at least, all the way back in January 2001 with issue number 199 of Fangoria magazine. The cover image features the crazy Captain Spaulding from the film. It teases information on the upcoming Spider-Man movie from director Sam Raimi. We've also got the Arnold Schwarzenegger sci-fi flick, The Sixth Day, Dracula 2000, and Buffy and Angel coverage. The jam-packed cover concludes with the vampire flicks Shadow of the Vampire and The Forsaken, and the horror film Soul Survivors. Just looking at this cover from January 2001 brings back a lot of memories for me. I had just graduated high school a year and a half before, and the pre-9/11 early 2000s really reminds me of a more innocent time. The back of the magazine has an ad for Insane Clown Posse CDs. Remember CDs? We've got an ad for the Evil Dead Hail to the King game, available on PlayStation, Sega Dreamcast, and Windows 98. And I have to show this ad for the Starlog 2000 store. Finally, all of your favorite mags, online. Pretty exciting stuff back then. Reading the House of a Thousand Corpses coverage included in this issue is fascinating. As most horror fans know, House went through a tortured release history. After completing the film for Universal, Rob Zombie screened the movie for executives, and they promptly dropped the movie from release, citing issues with the tone and violence. This magazine was released long before all that controversy and provides a snapshot in time when Zombie was midway through production on the Universal backlot. Fangoria magazine was there for day 14 of the 25-day shoot. The Fangoria reporter was under a confidentiality agreement and was unable to describe exactly what scenes were being filmed that day. But a few clues revealed that it was the sequence in the film when the characters are trying to flee the Firefly house in the rain. Writer-director Rob Zombie is interviewed, and he describes the kind of film he was trying to make. He says, quote, "I wanted to make a movie that had the feeling of the movies I've always loved. Movies now are all very slick, very commercial, very mainstream, very safe. And to me, that's not how horror should be." End quote. This sentiment is present throughout the coverage. For those that don't remember, there was a lot of angst during this period of time from some hardcore horror fans. Many felt exactly as Zombie did, that horror films were too watered down in the wake of Scream. Even actor Bill Moseley, who plays the sadistic Otis in the film, says, quote, "I consider House of a Thousand Corpses to be a very extreme movie that is mercifully going to break the streak of Scream, Urban Legend, and I Know What You Did Last Summer." End quote. As a horror fan who lived and breathed this stuff, I never agreed with this sentiment. I understood it, but I never felt that these films weren't real horror movies. They were different, but they were still good and a lot of fun. I had many discussions on this topic back then on the horror movie message forums that I used to frequent. Zombie details how his relationship with Universal began when he designed a maze for their Halloween Horror Nights attraction. From there, he pitched them the film and soon found himself making the movie. Zombie stresses in the coverage that Universal left him alone and basically let him do what he wanted without much interference. This probably explains why they were so horrified after Zombie first screened the film for them. The main cast is also interviewed, including Rainn Wilson, long before finding fame with The Office. He proclaims that House of a Thousand Corpses will be the Texas Chainsaw Massacre for the next generation. Calm down a bit there, man. Effects guy Wayne Toth mentions that the film includes a couple deaths that were never seen on film before. I can't think of what he could be referring to, but maybe it was something that was cut from the film before release. Rob Zombie concludes the coverage by promising that House of a Thousand Corpses would be the movie true horror fans were waiting for. It would be 2 years and 20 issues later before Fangoria would cover the film again. To be continued.